stronger every day. Keep on pushing through the pain. Keep on.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today I'm going to expose everything that's wrong with my high mileage 2013 Ford Raptor. Now, this is a Midwest truck. It has 180,000 miles. It's got some rust. It's got some mechanical issues. We're basically just going to break down everything that I know that's wrong with the truck right now currently, just so that way you guys get a sense of what could possibly go wrong. Or maybe you're looking at a used high mileage Raptor. This gives you an idea of what to be on the lookout for and what expenses you're gonna need to cover. Wrigley, should we head back to the garage? We're gonna head back to the garage and we're gonna fix one of these things right now.
Keep on grinding till we die. And no more.
So we have two things that we're gonna fix right now. One being the Fuse 27 relocation kit. Now, if you have a first gen Raptor or you have the 12th gen F-150, this is just a widely known issue that sometimes Fuse 27, aka your fuel pump fuse, sometimes overheats, melts, possibly at worst, maybe causing a fire. What happens is you'll go to start your truck, that fuel pump fuse is burn up, your fuel pump don't kick on, your truck don't kick on. So this can be fixed pretty easily for under like 30 bucks. The kit is on Amazon. I think it's like $25, but it shouldn't be too bad. Right here is the Fuse 27 relocation kit that we purchased off Amazon. It's just a Ford Motorcraft part, which means it is legit. This is my soldering iron setup. I've had this thing for years. And you're gonna see on the side, it says TS100. And that's, so if you basically get on Amazon and search TS100, you're gonna find a bunch of these. And like I said, power supply, comes with solder. This is just your little station that you'll use to clean the tip. This little pad you'll put a little water on to clean it. This is a clutch device and perfect for being compact and portability. I sometimes take this into work. I have my own heat shrink little set with my heat gun, but this comes with the heat shrink that you're gonna need, so you don't have to worry about getting the heat shrink. I'll link this down below on Amazon, but this is for sure the way to go instead of just buying one of those big bulky units, and these work perfect. Let's go ahead and dive into this. So this is all you need. Your two pieces of shrink tube, the new fuse that you're gonna install, and this is the new wire that we're gonna install and put into the fuse panel, and then this is gonna plug into this. Pretty simple. So let's go ahead and figure out what we need to do. And a lot of you folks have been asking me about this SVT badge. This is all over. I mean, I think you could just Google SVT badge for grill and it'll pop up. But this is on Etsy, and you'll notice there's so many people with first-gen Raptors putting this on. That's literally all I did. It's on Etsy. I'll link it below if you guys want. It's 20 bucks from the person that I got it from because there's several different people. The Fuse 27 relocation kit's going to happen right under in this fuse panel. Pop this guy. And the third row from the bottom, it's going to show fuse 27, third row from the bottom, second fuse over. That's fuse number 20. Let's go ahead and just pull this sucker. So now the wire that's underneath this, we're going to clip it, and then we're going to attach that new wire, solder it on, and it's going to get pushed up into here, so then our new fuse 20 is going to go there. So now what we need to do is we're going to undo this battery connection here and find the wire for this one, and then relocate it to over here. We've located the correct wire. It's going to be this thicker red and blue wire. Just try to make sure that it's lined up, that it's, you know, the third row back, second one over. But you're going to see one other stupid light. You're going to see one other blue and red wire, but it's a thinner one. So it's definitely this thicker one. And we're going to try to cut it down as far as we can so that way we get a little slack and we can make our solder connection. Okay, so the leftover wire from where Fuse 27 originally was, that's where one of those heat shrinks goes. So you just basically heat shrink over the end of it, just so that way no contact or nothing happens with it. And now the wire that you cut and you splice, you want to cut about 3/4 of an inch. Per the instructions, you want to leave about that much. I already messed this up. But basically leave about that much. Get right down at the bottom and then twist this guy around. Like so. because there's a reason why you want that. So we're not going to solder that part. We're going to solder this conjunction right here. I just want to show you guys how fast this thing heats up too. Turn it on, click the button. It's going, it's going, it's going, it's going. It's going to go to 450 Celsius, which is like 850 degrees. But basically all you do, get that tip clean, put a little on there, just pre-tin the tip. I used to solder at my last job. This isn't my most legit work, I'm not even going to lie, but it doesn't have to be. Then once I'm done, I just clean the tip off before I shut it off. Now the reason we left that little excess is because we're going to bend this. That's because we need to make sure this heat shrink goes on perfect. What we'll do is we'll take this, might be a little warm, and basically bend it down just like so. Okay, we got that piece heat shrink, so now we just need to stick this up into slot 70, which is bottom row. I think it's the 8th one over, which is this guy right here. So we just need to pull this guy up, and we're probably just going to tuck this wire over like this and up. So we got that new wire clipped in place in spot 70. So now we can take our fuse 20 that comes with the kit, plug that in. Now, moment of truth. Successful or not? Fingers crossed. The last thing we need to do is just put this sticker in the fuse panel, so then that way in the future if somebody else buys this truck, they can see that sticker and be like, oh hey, somebody already did the relocation kit. Perfect. The next thing that I need to fix on this, and I'm just not really pumped on it because it's going to cost me probably another 1,000 give or take, and that's the rear end. It definitely needs bearings. You basically can hear it on video. I'm pretty sure you guys can hear that like winding noise in the background, and it's just rather annoying. And I had my buddy, who's basically the head diesel tech at one of the local Ford dealerships. He has a full-on shop at his house. He does all the work on my vehicles when it comes to like bigger jobs, and I'm probably looking at around 1,000 give or take parts and labor, just because he's going to be doing it on the side. So that needs addressed, and this happens to a lot of the first gen Raptors, and it's probably the same with the 12th gen F-150. They just, I've seen some under 150,000 miles that say they had to get their rear end bearings replaced. So keep in mind when you do go for a higher mileage, you know, F-150 or the Raptor, more than likely you're going to want to think about doing some sort of rear end servicing. And we're not just going to replace a couple bearings, we're going to replace all of them, because if you're just going to tear the rear end apart, you might as well do it right. So we're going to fix that, probably get that done sooner than later, because it does kind of get annoying. And I'd probably say the reason I didn't hear it when I test drove it is because this Corsa exhaust is just so loud. Keep in mind, it's grown on me, I like it, but it probably just kind of overtook, and I didn't drive this truck that much to where I noticed it. So that's another thing to keep in mind, the rear end bearings. And if you're taking it to an actual shop, my guess is they're probably going to be at least 2 Gs, if not more than that.
Keep on riding till eternity, and no mercy in this life.
This next thing is pretty much like widely known. If you've done any sort of research and you're looking into a Raptor or you have one, you just know that the Fox shocks are supposed to technically be rebuilt every 50,000 miles or replaced. Now, when I got this truck, that was one of basically the first things I did, because this thing rode atrociously. I mean, I didn't even want to drive it. It was so bad because this thing just like bounced and it was just all over the road. So I got in touch with Brian. He owns Shocks by Hammer. He has like a shock trade-in program. Super good guy, super knowledgeable guy. Once we swapped out the shocks on this thing, it was just a night and day difference. Now I love driving it, and it's smooth. It corners perfect. And even if you have a truck and maybe you have like 120,000 miles on it, you might think, no, my shocks still feel all right. Well, they could still technically be leaking over time. They just get worse and worse, and it just kind of creeps up on you and you don't really notice it. So that's something else to be on the lookout for. It might be a little harder if your shocks aren't completely blown, but regardless, if you feel like dropping, you know, maybe an extra grand on your truck to get it right and smooth again, completely worth it. Now, the next things that need fixed, it's gonna be the rust. And unfortunately, this is a Midwest truck, so it does have some of the rusting. You can see here I've got a little bit of bubbling going on, and then the rockers are definitely KO'd. So that's gonna need fixed. This side basically has no bubbling on the rocker, but there's probably some underneath of it, you can't see it. But this rocker for sure is rusted out, and it's gonna need fixed as well. So I got in touch with a guy who did some body work on my dad's Escalade that he had in the past. He told me to weld in some new cab corners and rockers. I think he charged me like 1,800 bucks, said and done. I know some people have commented and they're like, oh, once you cut that open, it's gonna be way worse than what you can see. And I'm like, I know. I've done my due diligence, I've researched, and I've looked. When they cut it out, it's generally worse than what you can see, but this guy quoted me this, he knows it, he's already got the stuff in stock to do the swap, so he's not gonna charge me more. I think that's a pretty fair price, and I'll probably honestly get that done. Then others say that this third brake light here, the seal goes bad, water seeps in, and the water goes down here, and then that's also why these rust out. So maybe that's why these aren't rusted as bad as the rockers. And you'll start to see a trend of people not running boards on the first gen Raptor because they're usually roached. And what happens is I think they're Line-X or something from the factory. They're not powder coated. And you'll see it all the time. They're chipping and chipping, and mine were really bad, and they had gravel all over it. I'm assuming this was a gravel travel truck, and that's why they're not on here. But I do have them. They're out of my buddy's house. We sandblasted them. It took us like 15 bags just to sandblast all of them. So once we got those done, we're now just waiting to get the powder done. And I think we're just gonna go with like a textured black finish. I wanted to get them done for this video, but I don't think we're gonna have the time. Just keep in mind, since I have a friend that's gonna hook me up, more than likely, if you were to pay someone to get your running boards redone, you're probably looking at least $300 for sandblasting. And if you wanna go the Line-X route and just have like a Line-X place do them, I bet you're gonna be looking at another $250, $300. So to get them refinished, you're probably looking around the $600, $700 mark at minimum. You can't buy new ones because they don't make new ones. You can buy aftermarket, but the factory ones are the way to go. Now, I do have one other spot of rust, and this is pretty typical. I've seen this on a lot of first gens with the higher mileage in the Midwest, and I have a spot of rust right here. Now, I have not talked to my body guy to see if he can fix this. I'm assuming that this is surface rust under the paint, and that he can probably grind this out and then just blend it in. So when he does the rockers and the cab corners, I'm gonna have him fix that. Other than that, there's no other rust on the truck. So the other thing, my IWE hubs. This right here, this is for the IWE hubs, and this is a vacuum line, and it is smashed. So somebody in the past, whoever did like shock work to this, probably bolted this down, and this was underneath of it. So that's gonna need fixing. So I think once the truck goes in to get the rear end fixed, I'm gonna have my buddy swap out that as well. This was one of the first things that I did to the truck, and it was because I had to. It was messing with like the lights and everything. They wouldn't shut off for like 10 minutes. And that's because I had a door ajar light on the whole time. And I knew about this when I purchased the truck, and it's not that big of a deal. I think really what it is, when you have like kids or you have a lot of passengers getting in and out of this truck, I have the DVD headrests, which I need to pull these out. They're kind of spoken for at this point because no one's gonna use them. They're kind of cool, but no one's gonna use them. So anyway, that tells me right there they probably had kids coming in and out. Well, these door harnesses go bad, and what happens is when you peel this back, there's a bunch of wires right here, and those wires just break off. So you could try and strip them, solder them back together, but that's just the hack way, and it might get you by, but this harness was literally off of Amazon, and it was cheap. It was like 30, 40 bucks. I'll link it down below if you guys are looking to do this. But it probably took me about an hour of time. You basically just rip your door panel off and replace the harness throughout, and it just plugs in right in here. And once you do this, it gets rid of the door ajar light on your cluster, and then everything works like perfect, your remote start, everything like that. So that was one of the first ones. Generally, it's your rear ones that go bad. I haven't seen it as much on the front ones. But I do have issues with this door, and I've had issues with it since I've owned it. And whenever I hit my automatic button to lock and unlock, you can see it's not working. I actually have to manually do it. So the only way to actually lock this is manually doing it with the key or by hand. I can't use my wireless fob, and I can't use the button on the door. I don't think it's a fuse, but then again, I haven't really dove too deep into it. I'll keep you guys posted on that. So that's something else too, something with higher mileage that you could run into, but it sounded more like a lot of people have actuator problems. And I also have a ripped CV boot on my driver's side axle, so I also got informed about that. So that's something else that needs fixed, which you might be able to see it basically right behind the shock on the driver's side. The other thing that happens, especially with the higher mileage F-150s and Raptors, are this mechanism right here tends to break over time. And you can see like mine's cracked right here, which isn't kind of that big of a deal. But usually what happens is most of this will break, this comes off, and you need to end up replacing that. So that's generally with the higher mileage ones. You'll notice it too if it's like aftermarket parts because it just don't fit as good or flush. So mine's still all the OEM stuff, and for the most part it's all intact. But that's pretty much everything to my knowledge that's either been repaired or needs repaired with this truck. We do need to head back. There's still one other thing that I need to swap out, and if it doesn't make a difference, I'm gonna be mad because this was 160 bucks. But everybody on the forums raves about these. Let's get back. It's starting to get dark out. This would be a perfect time to test this and see if it makes a difference. It better. So the other thing we picked up was some new headlight bulbs, because apparently over the years, the factory HID bulbs in the 2013, I guess, tend to like dim out over time. So a lot of people rave about the Osram, I don't know, they're over here. These guys right here. It's the Osram Cool Blues D3S. D3S is the bulb type that the Gen 1 takes. These have been tested, and this basically is the brightest white light you can put into the first gen Raptor. So I'm excited to try these just because right now, that guy over there, those lights are just way dim, and I don't know if it's because these ones are just more better or if it's because those are just wore out so much. I still think these are going to be brighter than these, but we're going to do some testing. We're going to shut the lights off, do a little before and after. With the lights off in the garage, you can just see how much brighter the Gen 2s are, and you can see how much more wider. It's just a wider beam. Those definitely look yellow. You won't notice as much in the video, but you can definitely tell. So let's get to swapping some bulbs out and see what the difference is. Okay, the moment of truth. Did I waste 160 bucks? And I can tell you guys right now, I left the old one on the passenger side. It's definitely yellow. This one's definitely, when it first turned on, was kind of blue. Now it's just kind of went to a pure white. So just off of what's hitting the garage right now, I can definitely see a big improvement. So that should help out tremendously. I'm going to get the other one swapped out, and then we'll shut the lights off, turn the Gen 2s on, and do a comparison now. Okay, now we got them both swapped out. So you can see they're a little blue, and then they're going to go like purplish, and then they're going to go white. I don't know how well the camera's going to show that. Turn on the Gen 2. The Gen 2 is going to be for sure brighter. Yeah, the Gen 2, it's got newer technology. You can update the actual projector itself. You got to split the headlight, and that's going to make your output, I guess, even better yet. They're still not going to be nowhere near as good as the Gen 2, but they're definitely a lot brighter. They're a lot wider. I just hated driving at night with this because it seemed like when I turned the lights on, a freaking Prius could just like outshine me coming up next to me. So this should take care of it. But that's all we got for today's video. Just a little rundown of some of the issues I've already experienced, plus a couple of quick fixes that we just needed to get out of the way. If you guys have any other issues or some problems that are going on with your Gen 1, drop it down in the comments below. And until I see you guys on the next one, peace.
Keep on grinding.